Mitch McConnell basically saying, hey, we're not going to separate out these three pieces of legislation. We are not going to separate the $2,000 stimulus checks. We're not going to separate the Section 230, which would basically give big tech companies carte blanche to run rampant. We should have a debate on that. And we're also not going to separate out the voter fraud committee section of the bill as well. All of that will be lumped together. And Mitch McConnell saying, this bill, this $2,000 that came over from the House, that's just going to serve rich Democrats. So we cannot pass that independently. It has to be lumped together. So here's Mitch McConnell talking about why he will not separate out this thing and why this is just big money for Democrats.
Now, for several days, we've heard some senators say Congress must send more cash to high-earning households who haven't seen any income disruption during COVID-19. Our colleagues who purport to be the champions of vulnerable Americans now say that what struggling people really need is for Congress to stop focusing on targeted relief for them specifically and to instead send thousands of dollars to people who don't need the help. Experts from across the political spectrum agree that our colleague from Vermont is dead wrong on this. Socialism for rich people is a terrible way to help the American families that are actually struggling.
Socialism for rich people. That's what Bernie Sanders has been talking about. Socialism for rich people. So amend the bill. If you don't want to provide stimulus for people in a family that's making over $200,000, then amend it. Make sure that it's $75,000. Put that in there. Make sure that it's in there. Do you know how to amend these things? You do it all the time. Socialism for rich people. And again, this idea that you think that these people haven't suffered, that these people are now taking care of multiple people in their, like we saw yesterday. I mean, let me know in the chat right now, how many people are dealing with, a loss of hours, higher medical bills because of the pandemic. You're paying more for goods and services right now. Your business has had to close down. I mean, the list goes on, but you might not then fall under the government's characterization as being unemployed, and therefore you should receive a check. We have socialism for rich people, LL Balmer says. Yeah, we already have socialism for rich people. I mean, look at this. Why is Wall Street doing so well? This is why. Wall Street's doing so well because they've received incredible amounts of stimulus. I mean, right in this article, walks you through piece by piece in the Washington Post this morning how Wall Street has received endless amounts of stimulus, upwards of $120 billion a month. As the Federal Reserve continues to buy up all these crappy corporate junk bonds, mortgage-backed securities, all the stuff that Wall Street doesn't want. It's been giving like no interest loans, zero interest loans to these big businesses, and they're not spending it on research and development or hiring people. No, they're buying their own shares back, therefore artificially inflating the value of their companies. And so they're not doing what they said they would be doing, which is hiring people or keeping people on the payroll. They've just been artificially inflating themselves, laying people off. And the jobless numbers that just came out overnight continue to show that the economy is slowing down and that 20 million people are still unemployed or out of work and unemployed. But this is socialism for rich people. So what are you talking about?
So let me say that again. Borrowing from our grandkids to do socialism for rich people is a terrible way to get help to families who actually need it.
So let me just be clear about that then, Mitch. All that you have been doing over the past year, spending $800 billion on a defense budget, spending $4 trillion on stimulus for rich people, you and your wife managed to get hundreds of thousands of dollars thanks to PPP loans. Your family, members of Congress, fracking companies, billionaires have all been enriched during this time, thanks to you. So this little fun parliamentary game you're playing right now, it could come back to hurt Republicans big time in Georgia. We'll get to that in just a moment. This idea of sort of trickle-down economics. Except the thing is with trickle-down economics is it never worked. We now know conclusively that trickle-down economics does not work. It's never worked. Because when you give these big businesses billions of dollars, they don't trickle it down to you. They do not hire you. They do not spend it on you. It doesn't happen. It's separate. They enrich themselves. So Bernie Sanders took to the floor to fire back. It was a fiery session yesterday. Bernie Sanders decided to say, wait a second, Mitch. All of those lies that you just spewed out here on the Senate floor, you're the Senate Majority Leader. I'm going to take a few minutes to shoot them all down. Watch these fireworks.
Briefly respond to some of the points that Majority Leader McConnell has made, his inaccurate statements. Now, I'm delighted that after talking on the floor of the Senate for years about socialism for the rich, apparently that has gotten across to my Republican friends. Of course, that's what we do every single day. That's why we have the incredible level of income and wealth inequality that exists in this country, because decade after decade, we have used this body to provide massive tax breaks to the rich, provided corporate welfare to corporations who don't need it. That is socialism for the rich. Majority Leader is right. But let's talk about, in fact, what is in this bill. According to the Tax Policy Center, less than 1% of the benefits of the direct payments, that's the $2,000 per working class adult that Senator Schumer and I are talking about, less than 1% would go to the top 5% of Americans. Virtually nothing goes to the very, very rich. Overwhelming majority of those funds go to the middle class, the working class, low-income people who, in the midst of this pandemic, are in desperate economic condition. Now, again, I am delighted to hear the Majority Leader talking about socialism for the rich, and I hope we will continue that discussion in the next session. So let me talk about the socialism for the rich that the Majority Leader is enthusiastically supportive of. Majority Leader helped lead this body to pass Trump's tax bill. Now, you want to talk about socialism for the rich, Mr. Majority Leader? Under that bill, Charles Koch, one of the very richest people in America, he has a net worth of $113 billion. That bill gave Mr. Koch a $1.4 billion tax break. Majority Leader, that sounds to me like socialism for the rich.
Ouch. That's how you get burned by Bernie. You want to talk about socialism for the rich? Oh, I've got that. I spent my whole career fighting this. I'm happy to talk about it. We got some exclusive footage of Majority Leader McConnell running out of the building after Bernie Sanders made these comments. He was moving as fast as he could to get away. Oh, never gets old.
But that's not all. Way in Nevada, we have a gentleman named Sheldon Adelson, a major contributor to the Republican Party, big funder for Donald Trump. Under that same tax bill, led by the Majority Leader, Sheldon Adelson received a $560 million tax break. Guy who's worth $34 billion desperately needed that tax break, $560 million. Want more tax breaks for the rich? Want to talk about socialism for the rich? Senator McConnell had no problem giving a $104 million tax refund to Amazon over the past 3 years, despite the fact that that company made $30 billion in profit. So the argument that this bill in any significant way benefits the rich is just not accurate. But let us talk about who this bill does benefit. This bill benefits tens of millions of Americans who, as a result of this pandemic, have lost their lives, lost their jobs, they have lost their jobs, they have lost their incomes, and some, in fact, have lost their lives. These are people who are going hungry today. We are seeing, Madam President, a record-breaking level of hunger in America today, in the richest country in the history of the world. All over this country, and I receive emails from people all over this country, people are frightened to death that they are going to be evicted from their homes. And think about what a $4,000 check or a $5,000 check would mean to those struggling families, husband, wife, kids. Let me give you an example. This is a problem taking place all over this country, taking place in Vermont, taking place in Senator Schumer's state. It is taking place in Kentucky. In fact, in the state of Kentucky, a very beautiful state. I've had the pleasure of being there a number of times. Beautiful state. But Kentucky is the state where 10 out of the 25 poorest counties in America exist.
Yes, true.
And I'm sure Senator McConnell is aware that throughout his state, you got thousands and tens of thousands of people living in economic desperation. And I'm talking about counties where 30 to 40% of people are living in poverty and where many thousands of residents are trying to survive on less than $20,000 a year. I'm talking about a state, the state of Kentucky, and I'm just using Kentucky as an example because that's the state Senator McConnell represents, true all over this country. But in Kentucky, over 22% of the children are living in poverty. You think they might need a little bit of help? More than, in the state of Kentucky, more than 190,000 workers are making extremely low wages, and where over 500,000 people earn less than $15 an hour. Somebody might want to ask those people what a $2,000 a check per adult would mean. And I'm talking in Kentucky, and I'll never forget this because I visited Kentucky and talked to some of the people there. Kentucky has suffered a particular opioid crisis. And I'll never forget talking to a football coach who told me that a bunch of the kids on his football team were living with their grandparents or on couches because of the opioid epidemic. In other words, the people in Kentucky, the people in New York, the people in Vermont are hurting. They need help. So I say today to Senator McConnell, the leader here, let us address the horrendous economic crisis facing tens of millions of Americans. The pandemic today is worse than it has ever been. Hopefully, the vaccine will make a profound difference. But right now, people are hurting, and they're looking to this institution. They're looking to Congress, and the House did the right thing. They're now looking to the Senate. They're looking to Senator McConnell. And after all is said and done, after all of the legalese, and I'm going to be introducing some legalese in a moment, it comes down to one thing. Senator McConnell disagrees with the proposal that Senator Schumer and I are making. I got it. That's fine. It's a democracy. He has the right to his point of view. I would love to have the debate on the floor with Senator McConnell about this legislation. All that we are asking is give us the opportunity to vote up or down on whether or not working families in this country should be able to receive a $2,000 check. Senator McConnell disagrees. Come to the floor. Tell us why you disagree. And then we'll do what this institution is supposed to do. We will have a vote. Now, the truth is that in the House, Senator McConnell knows, 44 Republicans voted for the House bill, which won, by the way, by a 2-to-1 majority. 2/3 of the House voted to make sure that working Americans will get a $2,000 check. Right here in the Senate, there are a number of Republicans, not clear how many, who have already gone public in saying they think it is a good idea that we go forward with the House bill. So all that I am asking Senator McConnell is, give us a vote. What is the problem? You could vote no, And by the way, we need 60 votes, a majority, no question to my mind, that a majority of the senators will vote yes, but because of House rules, we need 60 votes. So we're going to have to get 48 Democrats, that's what we got, plus 12 Republicans. Can we get 12 Republicans? I don't know. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. But give us a vote. What is the problem? What is the problem with having the American people see how their senators vote on this issue of such enormous importance? Now, as Senator Schumer indicated, Senator McConnell has some other concerns, concerned about Section 230 of the 1996 Federal Telecommunications Act. I'm sure that that is absolutely on the minds of everybody in Vermont, New York, and Kentucky, probably all that they're talking about, the 1996 Telecommunications Act. But fine.
I love that. I love that sarcasm. I love the Bernie sarcasm.
He wants to vote on that? Bring it to the floor. Let's vote on it as a separate bill. We want to talk about election security. Senator Schumer is right. A lot of issues out there. I'm concerned about voter suppression. I'm concerned about people waiting online 5 hours to cast the vote. I'm concerned about voter intimidation. Senator McConnell has different points of view. Let's have that discussion. Put together a commission. No problem. Bring that bill to the floor. But everybody understands that when you combine all three elements, this is a poison pill designed to kill that legislation. So after everything is said and done, all of this comes down to one simple fact. Will Senator McConnell, the Republican leader of the U.S. Senate, allow this body to vote on a bill which will provide $2,000 per person to working class families all across this country? That's what this whole debate is about. It's not whether you like the bill, you don't like, we can have that debate. Got 3 days left in this Congress. The House did the right thing. It's now time for the Senate to have that vote. So, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that at 3 p.m. today, Thursday, December 31st, the Senate proceed to the consideration of calendar number 645, H.R. 9051, to provide a $2,000 direct payment to the working class. That the bill be considered read a third time in the Senate vote on passage of the bill, and that if passed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table. Further, that following the vote on H.R. 9051, the Senate resume consideration of the veto message on H.R. 6395, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the Senate vote on passage of the bill. The objections of the President to the contrary notwithstanding, all with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Object.
Object. Object. Object. That's all I can do is object. I don't want to help poor people. I don't want to help middle-class Americans. I object. We need to throw this bum out. Okay? We need to throw this bum out. We'll be watching today, folks, and again tomorrow, because Bernie's not giving up. He's going to continue this push. He's going to continue dragging the feet of the Senate, making sure that they can't do anything else until they get this through. He's going to continue to push to get this stimulus checks, and we'll be watching it all weekend. And then we get a new Congress on Sunday, sworn in on Sunday. And then we have our Georgia runoff race early next week. President Trump traveling there on Monday. Will the president push Mitch McConnell to pass $2,000 stimulus checks? All of these things are fluid right now. Thank you guys so much for watching our channel on this New Year's Day. Happy New Year to all of you. Here's hoping that we have a much better 2021. And I'm happy to have you a part of our show every day. So subscribe to our channel. We do this show every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, covering the progressive news stories that I think matter to you and your family, not salivating over Wall Street and big businesses. We are here to keep them honest. That is the point of this show, to keep these politicians honest, both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, and to tell you the truth.